Hello folks, Brandon Chapman with today. It's April 6th. It's a TheoTrade video, and the S&P does finish about 0.5% higher. As we look at the leading sector today, well, it's staples. Not exactly super encouraging if we're looking for a big move in the market. Technology just kind of falls in line with the S&P 500 for the session today. Mag 7 companies, are we seeing leadership there? Let's take a look at MAGs, the ETF that invests in them. MAGs as a class of 0.19%. What we're seeing is that the Mag 7 leadership, while it was noticeable last week on March 31st, was that essentially just rebalancing? We're selling bonds and buying, the Mag 7 companies because they're the dominant names in the S&P 500. Well, the lack of follow through does suggest that maybe it's not all it's cracked up to be. And we are seeing some defensive posturing today. Some cyclicals in the mix. I mean, you can kind of throw Amazon in that bag up 1.44%, certainly leading the way amongst Mag 7 names. But, and then we look at energy, of course, if we look at forward/CL, this brings us back to higher oil prices. We're testing 115 today. This brings up the thought in my mind is called something called the milkshake theory. I don't really call it the milkshake. I guess you can suck it up, whatever. But the idea is something I've taught for over 20 years. The idea that, look, during these kind of moments, as oil prices are going higher, frequently it's a result of the fact that people think there's some sort of decoupling going on, right? That somehow China is going to make it out of this, right? Well, and somehow the dollar and the US is not. Well, it doesn't generally happen, right? Normally you see these big spikes in oil accompanying what? Some dollar selling, but really speculation in that decoupling. This really has a little bit different driving force. Obviously, we're talking about Iran, but the reality is this party got started before the conflict in Iran began. We just saw it really get pushed over the top. Now, how does this relate back to dollar strength if we're seeing gold go higher and it's priced in dollars? Well, guess what? If you buy oil, just about most places in the world, you got to execute it by dollar terms, right? So for example, 112.90, that's US dollars. So it does create a condition where if oil prices like they have gone from 65 to 113, now all of a sudden it takes more dollars to buy oil. So demand starts to increase. This is one of those dislocations in the market that can fuel or really exacerbate a crisis that's already developing. And we know that there are white swans on the water, right? These are noticeable things related to private credit, et cetera. But when we start to see dollar demand pick up, the stress in the credit markets just continue to expand. So just as we watch the euro/US dollar here, you'll see the dollar strength, and that breakout occurred on March 2nd. That's when the conflict in Iran began. If we look at UP, this is the dollar index ETF. You can see down here, January 27th, it began to roll up a little bit, but that breakout right there was March 2nd. So we have seen continued strength in the dollar as this conflict goes on, because again, the more stress we create globally, the greater demand for dollars. And higher oil prices also creates more demand for dollars because you're paying dollars to buy, using dollars to buy the oil. So I thought I'd throw that out there. Just realize that we look at the S&P 500, there are concerns, right? The fact the staples led today is probably not an anomaly. But again, we're seeing a nice little breakout. We might say a decent retracement here. But the point is, like in this kind of environment, it's really important you have a process, right? You have a strategy, something you do every day, something that really helps you kind of figure out where the money's going. Certainly you can see, yes, it went into staples today, but ultimately this doesn't necessarily drive it in the future. So what I like to do every day is I've created a platform or a tool, and it's not an indicator. This is following the money. And so if I reset all my filters, there's 1,200 pre-filtered options in here. And you'll see this symbol, the options, the put, 445, et cetera. So I click on block trades. Now we've taken that down to the 32 biggest trades of today. And this really helps you daily know where the market's going. And that's exactly what you need at this point in time, right? You need to know where the money's rotating in the market and find those opportunities. And you can find calls, you can find puts, you can find stuff that might have the potential to squeeze here. RXRX is a high short interest stock. Someone bought 10,000 contracts today in one trade for 7 cents. Now, this is a cheap stock. It's a 450 call. But when you look at the squeeze bar here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 squeeze bars. I guess not showing up there for sure percent afloat, but understand this is a high short interest stock. That's why we have the 4 squeeze bars here. So understand there's significant potential for a short squeeze. And what's going to precipitate that if not buying calls? Okay, so all of a sudden we talk about dealer gamma, et cetera. What's going to drive a stock like RXRX? Now, granted, this is a pharmaceutical stock. Normally I say don't do drugs, but this is precisely the kind of company that experiences asymmetry. Well, what does that mean? The bigger moves to the upside. Yeah, you get some big downside moves, but more frequently, the fast, big moves are asymmetrical to the upside. And that's precisely because this stock does have significant or relatively high short interest, and it helps drive the price. But guess what? By buying calls at 450, as we move towards 450, the market maker has to hedge, the dealer has to hedge, which causes them to buy stock, and it exacerbates the upward movement here. So this is kind of your first indication that, hey, something may be about to happen in RXRX. This is one that you could easily buy a call in, just swing for the fences, and here you can see how cheap they are. But go 11 days, you can go out 39 days, give yourself more time. Spread's a little wide in here, but there's relatively decent depth, hundreds of contracts in here. So the idea is you can kind of take these because the call options are typically cheap, not just nominal turns for implied volatility, but understanding that there's asymmetry. The short squeeze does create bigger upside moves than downside moves. Well, let's take a look at another one here today. So as we kind of break it down, we kind of scroll through the list here, XLF. And this is something when you do this daily, you start to identify or notice trends. And one of those trends is identifying, hey, they're buying options in, call options or put options in the same industry. And so we look at XLF. This represents financial stocks as a whole, but 0.71% today. It's one of the top performing ETFs sectors, for example, today. But this has really been building for the last week and a half, right? So we could go back here to Jefferies, for example. Jefferies saw call option buying back here towards the lows. We had Wells Fargo, for example, buying calls again, same day back here. We had call buying in Citigroup, for example. And then last week, we saw the buying spread to Bank of America. It's up 1.3% today, outperforming the S&P 500. Well, now we're seeing today, they're buying call options in XLF. Now, this is an ETF, doesn't have the same effect as those big trades on individual stocks, but it's still indicative. And if we look right here, we click on location, we can easily see that, 100 plus, so I go 7,570 call options were bought in one trade for $1. That's a $757,000 trade. So that's a big deal, right? I mean, it shows money flowing in, expecting XLF. And this goes back to everything we've seen over the last week and a half in the periphery of the banking stocks. And guess what's coming up next week? Of course, it's bank earnings. So we have to look forward to that. And this allows you to really stay in the pocket of where the money's going. In this case, XLF showing upside. And again, I walked through today during my session at TheoTrade how to trade this using a back ratio spread. And I have within Block Hunter, I actually have an investing plan, how to create these following Don's strategy for it. So the idea is that this allows you to really gain access and be able to take this information and execute. The last one I want to point out today is MSOS. Now, this is one of those things where as we look at this, we say, look, I mean, this is an ETF. It's tracking cannabis stocks, for example. And you notice right there, they're buying 450 calls. So this gives us what? It gives us a target, 450, because they're buying calls. It means you're expecting the price to go up. And by April 17th. Now, if we notice what MSOS does, these are cannabis companies. Well, did you have this on your radar today? You might have missed something big happening potentially with this space or industry. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to show you MSOS, and I'll just use Thinkorswim here, and they have over here. They have so they have I'm trying here. So point being is, there's meeting, there's potential rescheduling, all this stuff going on right now, and there might be a meeting, maybe next week or so. But point being is, people are moving into MSOS in anticipation, potential rescheduling of cannabis as a drug. And so the point being is that we're seeing that movement right now. And again, you see March 26th, that was what, a little bit over a week ago. Well, that was last week, roughly. But the idea is we may be seeing something soon, a potential decision. Money is going into MSOS right now, right? We look at Tilray. Tilray is a high short interest stock as well in the same space, not moving quite as bigly. But again, rescheduling might help Tilray. But MSOS has a lot more smaller cannabis companies in here. And again, today breaking out higher, volume is a little bit higher today as well. If we kind of bring this up and take off that, You'll see we had some modestly higher volume today as well, but everything's kind of tying into it. So that print, as we're seeing in the options market, buying calls in MSOS, buying it at 450, you're seeing something, a potential trade. And we're looking at potentially you could buy a $4 call option. This is going for about 24 cents earlier. It's going for about 27 cents at the moment. Or even maybe buying like a 4 and selling a 6 spread out here. You're getting about 9. That's like the premium kind of came off that a little bit. It was about 10 cents earlier today. But the point is you can kind of trade the upside. That was going for 38 cents, buying a 4, selling a 6 earlier today. Maybe just buy a call option at 51. For 51, buy for 50 cents. Break evens 450. We're at 409 right now. So just playing the potential of the bigger move. But again, everything comes back to today, the ability to clearly and easily just take a look at the market, right? Identify where the money's going. Where are they buying thousands of contracts in one trade? If you can't answer the question, you need to take a look at Block Cutter. I'm starting a new masterclass for 4 weeks starting next Friday, April 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Love to have you join me. Check out Block Cutter. Again, reach out to our concierge team here at TheoTrade. Anyway, have a great one. We'll see you back next week. Thank you.